between two conflicting testimonies. Somebody is lying.
All right, my nieces and nephews, my lovers, I'm gonna tell you some real shit right now. Now, you might have seen me do a segment on Tucker Carlson, and straight up, I don't like Tucker Carlson. I mean, that's obvious, right? I don't like anything that has anything to do with Fox News. I don't mess with any of that nonsense. So you might sit there and think, oh, well, then I guess you watch MSNBC and CNN. Nope. No, I don't. I do not mess with that nonsense either. Why? Why don't I mess with it? It's left-wing media. No, it's not. No, it's not. I hear that so many times. I mean, I feel like it's so obvious, but you don't know how many times you'll hear a right-winger be like, MSNBC, and then also interchange that with left-wing. And I'm like, no, it's not. Motherfuckers will even call Google left-wing. I'm like, do you know what capitalism is? You think capitalism has a wing to it? If you making money, you think there's a wing? It's so silly. It's like, that is corporate media, Fox News, all of that stuff. Here, boys and girls, here's a very brief lesson. Very brief lesson on how television works, how cable television works. Now, when cable television shows you content, their news segments, how do they make money? How do they make money? How does anybody make money for this? It's called advertising. People buy ad slots. And so really what you buy when you're buying television is you're buying time. If I am a Coca-Cola and I want to advertise my product, I'm going to buy time. Now, not all time is equal. Some time is better time than others. If that time is during a very, very popular show when a lot of people are watching, that ad revenue it's going to be more expensive that time for you to advertise your Coca-Cola or whatever, capitalistic product you want to market at that time. So the more popular a show is, the more money they can charge for their time, their ad revenue time, their ad slots in between their segments. And that's how they make a significant portion of their money. Independent media, a lot of it is paid for by viewership and also ad revenue in that traditional sense. But also, like a lot of independent content makers will have a Patreon. They'll ask people to subscribe. Please like and subscribe if you like my videos. They'll ask you to do all sorts of things that are people-powered and help them make money. But the corporations, Fox News, CNN, they make money the exact same way. The CNN makes money the same way Fox makes money, same way MSNBC makes money. So the idea that they're radically different, I mean, they're not. They might say slightly different things, but their business model is the same. That business model is neither right-wing nor left-wing. We would just call that capitalist. It's just capitalism. Has no wing to it. So the idea that any of these are left or right-wing are silly. What I call them are corporatists. They're all corporate media. They're all neoliberal. Yes, Fox News is neoliberal. MSNBC is neoliberal. CNN is neoliberal. But they all have slightly different neoliberal leans to them. Fox News is more right to far right to conspiratorial. MSNBC is center right to... center right. Like CNN is center right ultimately. I mean, they are neoliberals. They believe in the market. They believe in state-sponsored violence. They hate socialists the same way that Fox News does. They don't. With the mainstream media, it's darn near open contempt. They hated Bernie Sanders. They hate anybody that fights for policies that seem to affect regular people on the left, on the MSNBC side, and on the far right, they'll just call you socialist and be done with it. So I do not like CNN at all. I think it's just trash. It's garbage, a garbage fire of trash. I think the reason why Donald Trump was able to get away with calling it fake news because it's just trash. If it was better and it was decent and it didn't play to the lowest common denominator, which is divisiveness and PR campaign for the corporations, then people would trust it. But people don't trust this shit. I don't know, maybe older people do, but younger generations, millennials, people who are getting their news from other sources, they just look at this shit and it looks like fucking flaming nonsense. And so the idea of calling a CNN left wing is it's by left wingers, it's laughable. I'm like, they spit in the left's eye constantly. They hate socialism. They will literally tolerate Donald Trump more than they would tolerate a socialist, because Donald Trump doesn't fuck with their money. Donald Trump makes the money. Bernie Sanders wants to mess with their money. So they're always going to go to the money first. Doesn't matter who it is. They're always going to favor the money first. So the idea that it's left or right wing is just so silly. But whatever, let's put that aside. That's how I feel about CNN. So I'm just letting you know premises before we watch this together, because CNN is going to teach us how to deal with white supremacy. Ooh, goody gumdrops. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to learn how to fight against white supremacy and what we're going to do. They're so silly. Let's watch this clown show of you already know she's very serious. Look at the books behind her and her gentrified room. This must be a very, very serious person. All right, let's listen. S.E. Cupp, CNN opinion commentator. I love it. What will it take to stop white supremacy? This blonde, white, Aryan woman will know.
Reveals that white supremacists are and will remain the most persistent and lethal threat in the United States through 2021. To be sure, President Trump stoked these racial tensions, tear-gassing peaceful anti-racism protesters, refusing to denounce white nationalist groups, and using racially coded language to instill fear in suburban white voters. How do we combat this threat? What comes next for white supremacists in America? Check out our op-ed on CNN Opinion and enjoy.
What comes next for white supremacists? Okay, so let's just start with watch how CNN will not acknowledge that this country is built on a foundation of white supremacy, which has never been addressed. They act like white supremacy has been addressed at some point, and now it's coming back. No. That's why Native Americans, that's why Indians, whatever you want to call it, that's why you don't see them around. It's not because they just don't want to live in y'all neighborhoods. They were pretty much systematically driven off their lands, genocided, killed, murdered, whatever you want to call it. Treaties were written with them, and then the treaties were broken, So, this white supremacy, what are we going to do about it now? You ain't going to do shit about it. This shit's here to stay. It's all good. A lot of us, we're just used to it. Maybe we're hoping in future generations there'll just be less and less white people, so their influence won't be as bad. Because unless you're going to address it in any realistic way, you ain't never going to change it. I mean, I'll tell you my ideas, but let's hear their ideas first.
Enjoy our conversation now. Chris, I want to start with you, and I'll encourage everyone to read the op-ed that you gave us for this series in which you discussed your own journey through white supremacism. You fought in Afghanistan and came home radicalized. You joined a white supremacist group and became, as you say, addicted to hate.
So the initial draw to it was very subtle. It's not like somebody walked up and was like, hey, you want to be in a hate group? It was a lot of things combined. It started off very young, very early on. My parents were extremely racist behind closed doors. And then I think the experiences while I was overseas in Afghanistan and
Okay, so I want to touch on one thing he just said. My parents were extremely racist behind closed doors. We have a situation where 70 million people voted for Donald Trump in this 2020 election, and 6 out of 10 white people, after all the lies, after all the nonsense, after all the ignoring in a pandemic, downplaying a pandemic, saying Mexicans are racist, rapists, antagonizing peaceful protesters, tear gassing people, emoluments clause where he's still making money, even has businesses, even though he's a government official, a president of the United States, 26 allegations of sexual assault and or rape. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot. So, we have a lot of people that are down for that. And there's a lot of people that just don't want to say it in the polling. Like a lot of the polling, Trump overperformed. It's because a lot of people don't want to admit this. They don't want to admit that what Trump says, they're down with it. You know what I mean? And that's one problem with white supremacy, is that it tries to hide, you know, it tries to act like it's some benign or logical thing. That's why you have agents like Ben Shapiro out there. And that's, to me, number one thing is white people don't like to acknowledge it. They get butthurt when they talk about white supremacy, and white people, they don't talk about race in a non-conflict way, right? They don't grow up in the household talking about race relations. In his household, they said racist things. In my household, they said, look, this is how you navigate the world, knowing that white people are going to try to come at you and be antagonistic, right? It's not that you're supposed to hate white people. It's just that understand sometimes they don't like black people. That's what I was taught. Like, it wasn't I was never taught you should hate them. My parents sent me to boarding school where it was all white, you know, but they also said, look, you just got to realize the reality, right? And a lot of black families have this, like, look, be careful of the cops. We had this very talk with my family, very young age. You know, maybe I want to say 10 years old. Be careful of the cops. They just don't see black people in the same way. They weren't saying, oh, fuck the cops, you got to hate them. They're like, look, cops can be dangerous if you're in the wrong place, wrong time. You don't even have to be doing anything wrong. This is the conversations we have in the black home, or my parents had, and a lot of black people, when I talk to them, that's the experience they relate to me. You know, not, you know, you just talk about race in terms of trying to keep yourself safe. This person, his household, they talked about race in a negative way, right? They didn't talk about race relations. They talked about race in terms of black people are inferior, ultimately, or whatever, Mexicans, or who knows what it is. But the difference is with black people, when they're talking about race, they're talking about race relations. When white people talk about race, they're usually putting people down because of their race, right? Most black people just have to be realistic with how race plays out in America as a safety measure. It's just what it is.
Constant negative experiences with Islam and Muslims, and then coming home and getting out of the army and just being at a loss for that camaraderie and that partnership and brotherhood that I had. I just needed to fit in somewhere.
When I used
Okay, he also says another thing, and I think that's why Afghanistan and all the wars, we tolerate them for so long, because it's who are we killing when we go over there, right? We're killing brown people, so we don't really care like that, ultimately. So even with him, he could go over there, and it's a lot easier to kill someone when you can call them a towel head or something, rather than look at them as just they have a family, they have a mother or their brother, or they're, you know, just a regular person.
used to think about white supremacism, you know, white hoods and neo-Nazis, for example. Just a few years ago, I really thought that this was a problem that had largely been kind of eradicated. And where it did exist, it was really underground. Do you think people understand how prevalent this ideology?
Okay, she's talking about being post-racial. Another thing she's talking about, when you get a lot of these conservatives ambushing liberals, this is the kind of liberal they ambush. This type of white person who is non-racist as a virtue signal, but doesn't understand how corrosive that racism is, how it allows for a police state, how it allows for the disenfranchisement of everybody, how it breaks up the working class, so the working class can now no longer consolidate against the bourgeoisie. Doesn't matter, because she is part of the bourgeoisie, so she doesn't actually mind racism at all. She'll have this little fucking segment on, I'm pissed off. She'll have this segment on CNN, this gentrified woman, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryan or whatever, and then she'll lead the talk about race. When really, if you really want to end white supremacy, people like you need to shut the fuck up and listen to what a black revolutionary has to say. You should not be leading the conversation about race and how to end. People like you need to take the lead from black revolutionaries. Shut your fucking Aryan ass up for a second. I know, because white supremacy cannot allow you to shut the fuck up, even on a talk about race. You can't listen to black people. Again, CNN, this is what they do. You can't even on this well-meaning white people, you can't even listen to a black person. The black person is the ancillary person. We should be leading the conversation and teaching you. You should be, oh, you should go learn. No, you need to learn about race. Woman, Aryan. Shit, I'm pissed, dude, because every time we talk about race on these gentrified motherfucking shit, it's always a white person, one black person. Where's the Latinos at? Where the Asians at? Where's anybody at? the fuck out of here. Oh, white supremacists and their feelings. Their feelings ain't gonna change, dog, especially not from you, Brunhilde. Shit.
Ideology actually is.
No, I don't think they understand how prevalent it is. I think 2020 has given us a taste, but I think you're exactly right. When we think about white supremacy now, it's on 4chan and on Reddit. It's in sports teams. It's in.
Oh no! We know about it because Ben Shapiro, people like Stevenson Crowder are very, very popular, and they need their whole freaking premise of their show is to debunk white supremacy every day to let you know that it doesn't exist. So how the fuck can we act like it's underground? They know people know it's above ground. These 70% of people who voted for Donald Trump, right? 6 out of 10 white people. Okay, of the 4 out of 10 white people who didn't vote for Donald Trump, how many of those motherfuckers know the ones who did? Get the fuck out of here. That means every white person is connected to Trump voters. If it's 6 out of 10, give me a break. If you're doing the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon on that shit, that means that every white person in America is connected to that Trump shit, and they know it. They either have especially if you talk to most white people, they either have a cousin, uncle, some side of their family fucks with Trump. Even the people who, even some of the women who have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault have family members that are Trump fans, which makes it difficult for them to come out because they think, oh, you're just trying to attack Trump. They're like, nah, shit, that's what actually happened to me. And the fact that they have family members that are Trump. So literally 6 out of 10 people voting for Trump means every white person's connected to Trump. So if those white people are like, I've never seen racism. I don't know. I've never seen. They're fucking lying. It's bullshit. Everybody's seen it. We've all seen it. Some of us just ignore the fuck out of it. It's all good. Because they don't have enough courage to be like, yeah, I see racism. It just doesn't bother me that much. You know what I'm saying? A lot of white people, because they never talk about race, when they have to talk about race, when they're confronted with it, it looks like an assault to them. So they recede and start to get all in their feelings and shit, rather than be able to have no metered conversation. Because you have to build up the tolerance to talk about race to be able to not take it personally. And white people take it hella personally. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, interpersonally, I won't call people racist, but I'll call Ben Shapiro racist because he's a public figure, and he says he done left himself a record. he Twitters every fucking day. So that shit's easy. But for a regular person that I don't really know, and you're just a regular person, that's not really effective for me, because if I actually want to build a bridge, I'm never going to call someone that to their face, but I'm not trying to build no bridge with Ben Shapiro. I know what he's all about. Fuck him. But with this type of conversation, the whole structuring of it is incorrect. It's wrong. It's bullshit. To have a white woman lead the talk about racism. Is there even a black woman up here? And then the only motherfucker you have is one black guy historian. And then one neo-Nazi. It's just so stupid. It's so corny. It's just like, why does white supremacy always have to be the most extreme shit? White supremacy isn't a fucking neo-Nazi. A neo-Nazi is the extreme end of white supremacy. White supremacy is calling the fucking cops benignly and shit in the park to, that Amy Cooper or whatever. That shit's white supremacy. You always got to go to the neo-Nazis, the most dramatic bullshit. And then, we brought a neo-Nazi back from the other side. Motherfucker, 5 more million people voted for Trump than in the first time. So shut the fuck up with those stories. That shit hella corny. When you try, we brought one guy back from the other side. When the motherfucker doubled up on his second time round with his lies and his bullshit. And you're trying to convince me that, if we just talk to a white supremacist. It's infuriating. It's fucking infuriating. I hate CNN.
The military, it's in the law enforcement, but it's also in secular society. We even see data that shows white people who believe that even though all the social economic data shows us that they're on top in terms of wealth, in terms of access, treatment before the criminal justice system, housing, education, the whole works.
I agree with you 100%.
White people have never believed in racism. They didn't believe in racism when they were slave owners. They don't believe in racism now. If you took a survey, it would be the same fucking thing it was when they were slaves. 6 out of 10 white people don't believe in racism, and 4 out of 10 people, yeah, it's real. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. And then now you're getting so many receipts now. These same people who don't believe in racism, they don't believe in election results apparently. Oh, wow. No connection, man. The mysteries of life. What is this? Is it somehow that the South never really died? We beat them in a war, but like we were never able to change their minds, and they're just still bitter, and we've not substantively changed anybody's life in America to make them get off racism? Fucking A. Keep going, CNN. Teach us how to not be
That was
racist.
one of the biggest recruitment tools that I would use is, you're upset, you're angry, you're mad about this. Well, let me tell you why you're justified in being mad or angry.
Okay, so this gentleman makes, if the former Nazi, makes a tremendous point. But this point will be completely lost on CNN. Okay, he's saying, he's literally saying, I'm capitalizing on the fact that I find people with not shit going on in their lives, and they're right, shit isn't going on, and there's reasons to be fucked up about what's going on, but I just blame immigrants. I mean, ultimately, that's what he does, right? You think CNN's getting your back? You think CNN's saying, hey, let's get some Medicare for all. Let's get free college. Those two things alone, Medicare for all, free college, UBI, would drastically reduce radicalization in America. It would reduce radicalization in hood neighborhoods, gangbanger type neighborhoods. It would drastically reduce that. It would drastically reduce the white supremacist knuckleheads also. Both those type of knuckleheadery would be drastically reduced if I said to someone, hey, you have free college, you have UBI, and you have Medicare for all. If we had those three things in our society, and then Ben Shapiro wants to talk about his fucking bootstraps, then I'll be like, okay, dog, bootstraps. Everyone has healthcare. Everyone has a little bit of cash in their pocket. Everyone has access to education. Your life isn't so great. You want to learn how to do IT, computer science or something? You got it. Free. Just go do it. You want to learn how to do, be a doctor or something? Go do it. Now, the kicker is, honestly, there is free college in America. A lot of states, or at least the state of California where I'm in, if you were like a regular working person like myself, and you were independent, and you made below a certain threshold, which most working class people make below a threshold, you could get apply for fee waivers and get free college, essentially, or very, very reduced fee. And even if it wasn't reduced, the price per unit at the time, I mean, it's changed. I haven't done the research, but in California it was like $12 a unit. So my point, I don't want to get too much in the details, but the point is, free college, super cheap, super easy, and it's an easy thing. After school programs for kids, programs where kids of all races just get to go and play together and learn music, learn acting, learn theater, learn sports, ballet, dancing, debate team, whatever. If people of all races were doing that together, and like we desegregated the America more, then racism would be alleviated. But they're not going to say any of these things. They're going to be like, we just have to talk. They're going to say fucking platitudes like, we got to talk and get together and teach and learn. We don't have to learn shit. The fact of the matter is, if you don't live around people of your same ethnic group, or if you don't live around people of different ethnicities, you're gonna be more xenophobic. You're gonna not normalize those people. The more you only see motherfuckers on TV, the more your perception of them is gonna be whatever that TV or whatever is showing you. If you don't interact with people on a day-to-day normalized basis, and all I do is teach you about the races, then it doesn't matter. This is disingenuous. Just accept that we've segregated the country. We like it like that, like it is. I guarantee you that woman lives in a neighborhood with exactly the amount of minorities she feels comfortable with, right? She lives in a mostly white neighborhood. We all know this. All of these people who talk about race, these are the race baiters in a lot of ways. This homie looks like a real G. He looked like, okay, I used to be an ex whatever. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But it's the host who I have the biggest problem with.
No matter what grievance or trauma that you had.
Yeah, this person. Tell me she don't live in like a gated, all white, all our neighbors white, and if there's black people around her, she know exactly the house that they live in, so she can be like, she knows exactly. She count on like she has in her little back pocket, I have a black friend, I have one Asian friend, so that she can always know that I'm not racist because I have friends of different ethnicity groups. She has the look to her, to me. Shit, she looked like she voted for Trump, honestly, but whatever.
In your life, we could turn that into a reason why you should align yourself with our views.
Sam, from your
Look at that blanket statement. Hate threatens America. What the fuck does that even mean? That's so dumb. Some stupid shit. Hate threatens America. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It makes corporations strong as fuck. Like, shut up. Hate threatens America. How does it threaten America? How? How does it threaten America? America seems to be doing fine. A lot of fools said, let me re-up on Donald Trump. Threatens America. How? How? Does this person even care about anything but her own neighborhood? It threatens America. These useless platitudes that mean nothing. That's why I don't watch CNN. I would never watch this. I worked at a place that would make have CNN on in the break room. I would, and that's how I had to spend my lunch. And then people would be watching CNN and be like, "What do you think of this segment that I'm watching?" And I'm like, "Don't fucking talk to me. I don't give a fuck what CNN has to say. This is my lunch break," and they'd have CNN on in the lunchroom. What if I'm a conservative and I don't like CNN? You know what I mean? To have that shit on in the lunch, it's like so offensive. It's corporate propaganda. It's like a nightmare to work in some of those places.
point of view, because I know you get the national security reports, you read them, how much of this rise in white supremacism is because of politics?
Well, I think it's certain.
Rise in white supremacism? The rise in it? It's risen? Where did it rise from? Where did it rise from? Where did it come from? Did it rise out of nowhere? When has America not been white supremacist? It's all good if it is. Who cares? You don't. CNN doesn't. It's like this bullshit, dude. They want to talk about it for like as long as they have to, and then let's stop talking. You know, all of these people, they're neoliberals, so they don't believe in racism. They don't believe in what we people are talking about. They don't believe in systemic racism. They think that racism is just a bunch of white nationalists being baddie.
Inspired
Look how they'll never talk about the policing in America.
by political rhetoric. We can't ignore the elephant in the room. For the past several years, we have heard elected officials use content that may serve as a rallying cry to white supremacists. When we hear elected officials talk about and really praise members of the far right, including potential domestic extremists, that sounds like a vote of confidence.
Okay, so it looks like let's not actually accept any responsibility for white supremacy. Let's just blame like a couple of government officials. That's it. Well, why not just get rid of the government officials and racism goes away magically? Well, it's these people dog whistling. Now, I will admit, them dog whistling emboldens racists, but emboldens, not makes racists appear out of thin air. It emboldens the ones that already were that was keeping this shit silent. And that's a simple concept. It's not even that hard. But CNN, I don't know, man. So freaking
that's why I
corny.
want to know from your perspective. Yes, this is about race and misogyny and xenophobia and the things we've discussed.
Oh, let me not talk about race. It's about race and misogyny and xenophobia and like what are we talking about? White supremacy or what? Like, she hasn't. I'm just frustrated. You're not even saying what it's about. You're saying it. You're just mentioning things that exist, like xenophobia, misogyny, and Okay, well, what has that got to do with white supremacy and stopping it?
Discussed, but how much of it is also about politics?
Obama.
So now blame politics. Okay, I mean everything is about politics. It's actually, and also that politics is historical. But they're not going to make it historical. They're not going to say there's a history of redlining, there's a history of segregation, there's a history of Jim Crow that we just don't want to face. And then you're going to start talking about misogyny and shit. Which, I mean, again, those things do exist. The patriarchy does exist. I get that. But if you're actually specifically talking about white supremacy, then actually talk about white supremacy and talk about the roots of it and the history of it. You know, as opposed to like, let's roll everything into it. This isn't a time for intersectionality. I get intersectionality, but if we're talking about this one specific thing, let's stay on the topic of this specific thing.
Transforms domestic violent extremism because they feel they're losing the country. Trump transforms and amplifies the rhetoric by saying, we will make America great again. And the MAGA has become an ideology for a white ethno-nationalist state. It's not just Steve Bannon. It's not just people around the president. This is real. White supremacists have interpreted the president as saying, we will reclaim this country. And instead of being this white minority that's dominated by Muslims and brown people and other people, it's going to be a country that's white, that's very, very patriarchal, and that patriarchal authority is going to be resumed by any means necessary.
Okay, that is a fine take, but again, I need historical context, and they spent already 4 minutes, and they just try to avoid nonsense and talk about, well, this is what's happening. You're just doing current events. If we're actually going to talk about white supremacy in a 7-minute segment, you got to be focused and give me a brief synopsis in the history in this country. Is there a history? Is there anything? Preface me. Give me some foundation with which to learn of what's going on now. All you're doing is talking about what is happening in current events and acting surprised, like white supremacy is arising out of nowhere. No, it isn't. It has a historical root and a context, but they're not giving you that. They're basically just saying racists are bad, and that white supremacy is really like neo-Nazis.
Chris, white supremacists found a culture of comfort and acceptance in Donald Trump's presidency.
Again, she's a white supremacist. I mean, it doesn't but my framing is not the same as hers. I'm saying she's a white supremacist, not necessarily in a negative way. I'm just saying in a factual, systemic way. The fact that you are the one leading on the mainstream media the conversation on race, being a white, cis, gendered woman, you've probably never faced racism. And you've probably never had deep talks about racism with people of color. I don't know who you are. Are you a historian of race? Are you a race historian? Do you have like a PhD in Black studies, women's studies that pertain to race? Whatever. I don't know. Whatever it could be. Who are you to be leading a conversation nationally on national broadcast television about race?
Where do they go now that Joe Biden's been reelected?
Well, now they're going to come out and be on the offensive 100% because the election was rigged. There's fraudulent.
Again, trying to reduce white supremacy into a band of bad baddies who can't accept Donald Trump's thing, rather than assist this. I don't care about Donald Trump followers. I care about a system of oppression. If you could give me the history of it, which you can't, then I could have a context for what that system of oppression is and how that plays out today. But instead, they've reduced it to like a movie. Like racism is about the bad guys, and the bad guys are Donald Trump fans, and as opposed to no, the system allows these people, these Donald Trump fans, a presidency. It allows them 4 years to have a mainstream access to, you know what I mean? Those kind of things which are more substantive. Instead, it's like, no. What are we going to do to stop? What are we going to do about the band of bad baddies that can't accept Trump's defeat? That's what white supremacy is. Just some bad baddies with guns.
Voting, their supreme leader Donald Trump was taken out cheatingly and unfairly, and it was a big conspiracy to get him out of office. And so they're going to come out on the offensive, and you're going to start to see more before you see less from our friendly neighborhood white supremacists.
Peniel.
And then even again, more shit framing. How do we fight back? It's like that's like trying to fight terrorism, dog. You can't fight terrorism. You can't go on a war on terror or a war on white supremacy. It's not.
Let's talk about policy solutions. Joe Biden talked a lot about bringing the nation together, and that sounds great, But what if the feeling isn't mutual? Now that Joe Biden's been elected, how can he help?
Okay, so here, let's just shame the other side. What we want to bring them back together, but they don't. What? Like, I hate CNN so fucking much. It's so divisive. It's so divisive. It's like, well, getting together, like she's like, let's just look at how nonsense this shit is. This is so. Let's dissect this.
Joe Biden talked a lot about bringing.
How do we fight back?
Peniel, let's talk about policy solutions. Joe Biden.
Let's talk about policy solutions. When someone says, let's talk about policy solutions, my expectation, call me an idiot, my expectation, my body, everything in me, all my intellectual capacity, the culmination of it, and now I'm getting ready to hear a policy. You have just told me, hey, policy solutions. So my brain is clicked to, I am about to hear a policy. The next thing I'm going to hear is some form of legislation or policy. Doesn't matter what it is, just I'm going to hear policy.
Let's talk about policy solutions. Joe Biden talked a lot about bringing the nation together, and that.
How is what she said next have anything to do with a policy? What is that got? Like, what is that? It's like they're training their audience to not care about policies. Let's say policies and then let's not talk about. See, I know to some people these are little things. These are big things to me, which infuriate me greatly. When I'm watching the news and they do things like this, you have multi-million-dollar productions. You have so much resources to not do this nonsense, and you do it. If a YouTuber does it, YouTubers make misspellings, mistakes. They're independent people trying the best they can. You have all the resources you can, and then you come out with some fucking stupid shit like, now, let's talk about policy. Biden said he's going to bring everyone together. Like, I know for some people that's acceptable, but that is not acceptable to me. And for me to take you seriously, like, you can do it, you can talk like that, but I will not also take you seriously. You don't get both. Let's talk about policy. Biden says he's going to bring people together. I'm not a kindergartner. Like, come on now. Talk appropriately. This is so inappropriate to do that.
That sounds great. But what if the feeling isn't mutual?
That's not policy. Let's talk about policy. What if we want to get together, but the other side doesn't? And then to pass that off as saying, I'm going to talk about policy. Shit, maybe you edited it. You edited it poorly. That is unacceptable. Now, I understand that's not lies or disinformation, but but it is kind of a misdirection. It's this let's use the word policy to act like we're talking about something serious, and then say a bunch of dumb shit afterwards.
Now that Joe Biden's been elected, how can he help solve our racial divide?
Well, I think it starts with a rhetoric of racial unity. So I think one of the things that the past president...
Oh, yeah. That's it. The rhetoric of racial unity. Come on, guys. Say that to 70 million people who think the election's been stolen. Oh, come on, guys. Let's just get together, man. That's how you solve racism. Hey, turn CNN off. They solved it, man. Hey, all you got to do is come together. All you got to do to end racism, guys, is just come together. Just come together. Why haven't you been come together, motherfucker? You better come together, motherfucker. Come together, fool. Oh, hey, if you don't come together, fool, next week, are you coming together? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? It's so exacerbating. We could just come together. Platitudes up the wazoo. Here, just take this platitude. See that platitude? Just take this platitude up there. Just shove it up there. Shove it up there. Come together. You scallywags. You know, who haven't been coming together. That's all you got to do. Just come together, man.
President showed was that rhetoric matters. The bully pulpit, the president of the United States matters. So the fact that Joe Biden is speaking beyond the...
Right. rhetoric matters because there was no racism before Obama. There were no protests in Ferguson during Obama. It's just, this is how we'll stop it, by rhetoric, by talking our way out of it. Hey guys, just don't be racist anymore. Come on, black guys aren't criminals. Black guys aren't unduly violent. They're gonna believe that, of course. But here, before you convince everyone to get together, why don't you convince them the election was real first? We'll start there. We'll start there on some non-racial. There's a racial undertone to that, but start there. So, how about you convince people to just wear some masks? You know what? Before we fight racism, I would say, like, put the racism fighting on hold, CNN. Just convince Americans that wearing a mask will actually reduce the spread of infectious disease during a pandemic. Do that first. Fuck your little, like, inch step racism. How about you convince them that wearing a mask will be helpful? Well, how about you convince them of something that a medical doctor, like, just have medical doctors come on every single day and say, this person is a medical doctor and they say wearing masks is bad. Actually, you probably shouldn't do that because, the way these white right-wingers are, they'll threaten your life for death if you say wearing a mask. If you're a medical doctor, you probably come to your hospital try and, like, murk you over it. So I get that. But anyway, maybe take statements from doctors or something and don't show their face. I don't know. But before you end racism, CNN, you freaking arrogant elitist coastal fucks, why don't you actually convince half the country that wearing a mask might reduce, like, convince them. I know you've been saying it a lot on your television, or maybe not, I don't know, but convince people. I don't watch this nonsense, so I wouldn't know actually one way or the other. But why don't you convince people to wear masks first? I feel like you could convince most of them that Elvis is alive before you could convince them away from any of their racial beliefs.
Red state and blue state partisan divide is very important.
Sam, do we need a war on white supremacy? What would that look like with a...
Ew, 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 gross, gross. That was so disgusting. That was so gross. She's so gross. I'm sorry. She's really, really just, like, everything she's saying is a tremendous turn off, like, as far as humanity goes. I feel like she's the kind of person that would call the cop. She's the kind of person that would see a black man in the backyard of her neighbor's house and call the cops and shit. And she's now trying to virtue signal like she's the, like, oh, I'm the one. Oh, so freaking gross.
National security apparatus.
Ew, she said war on white supremacy. Ugh.
Apparatus behind it.
It's like, you notice how none of her solutions will ever be like, because her mind is small. She's a pea-brained, Aryan, super race, super high IQ, pea-brained idiot. Okay? This is the master race. These are the high IQ ones. That's why she's leading the talk about race. Is she even... First of all, they don't talk about the history of white supremacy, and that bothers me greatly. Number two, they make white supremacy make it look like a good guy, bad guy thing rather than a systemic thing. They individualize it, which is why CNN is complete fucking nonsense. Okay? And then number three, a war. Why is everything a war? Like, what are you talking about? Like, let's use the language of Richard Nixon. Like, because he's the one who came up with a war on drugs, Richard Nixon. So let's use that verbiage for everything. Let's be right-wingers about everything. Let's not lead the way. I mean, the only thing that's acceptable that I would call a war, you know what I mean, is maybe a war on poverty. That's the only war I would accept. And yes, would a war on poverty help... you ain't gonna stop white supremacy, but will it help curb it? Yeah. War on poverty. Make sure the kids in the trailer parks, the white kids in the trailer parks, have school to go to, and those schools are integrated with other black kids who are poor. So a bunch of these poor working class people growing up together, doing things together, playing football together, doing carpentry together, growing up with each other, actually making it so that you poor people have access to education, have access to healthcare, and have access to UBI. You gave the people that, and 20, 50 years later, you still have the same problem with white supremacy as you did, again, you're going to have some issues with white supremacy, but we're trying to at least curb the most extreme things, where what the actual ex-skinhead or ex-Nazi was saying is disenfranchisement, not having money, not having opportunity in your life is what's going to breed that put that void in your life, which allows someone who comes in to groom you into joining a gang. Literally, if you ever watched how people get into gangs in the hood or whatever, it's a similar thing. They're growing up in neighborhoods where they don't see a lot of opportunity as young people, and they're seeing the people that are succeeding or doing slightly better are the ones engaged in criminal activity or in some negative type of behavior. And when you're young enough, 12, 13, 8, 12, 13, 14, you don't know yet that you're in a skinhead gang and that you're racist. You're not thinking about it, or that you're a gangbang. You're not thinking about it like that. You're just thinking, oh, I see an older person who is taking an interest in me for whatever reason, and they're treating me like an adult, and they're giving me positive feedback. But for the same time, they also want me to do things for them. And being a young person, I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? This person's looking out for me. I should look out for them. That's how a lot of these people are groomed into white supremacy. It's like you find young people that feel disenfranchised, and you groom them, and you get them prepped, and then as you're slowly helping them build their life, you also school them on your ideology, and the fact that people don't have hope and don't have other places to go other than to these people is the problem. If the young people had more after-school program, mechanic shop to go to, music program to go to, theater, art, whatever, it could curb some of this. Free, government-funded, government-paid for, tax-funded, tax-subsidized child care programs, maternal leave, time... people are like all working class people, just to be able to feel like there is some hope in their life, that their 40-hour work weeks are leading to a better life. When people aren't being led to a better life, that leaves the room open for cultists, fascists, demagogues, whatever. These people on CNN, they don't, well, I don't think that they're actually smart enough to ever talk about that conversation, but they don't want to talk about that conversation because they ultimately know that CNN props up fascists all the time because they are corporatists. They propped up Donald Trump because they made money off him. And so now they want to act like they care about ending white supremacy, which they don't. They're totally disingenuous.
See, this is certainly an all-hands-on-deck moment for confronting domestic extremism in all of its forms. When we think about the roots of white supremacy, it is clear that just trying to play a game of...
And again, they're just talking about individual stuff. So you can stop individual acts of white terrorism, but you can't stop the underlying current, which is making people feel this way generation after generation. CNN won't even bother to touch it or address it.
Whack-a-mole and try to identify radicalized individuals once they have become radicalized is not going to solve the problem. We need a massive government-run effort to educate the American public about the realities of different...
No, you don't need... so that sounds authoritarian. We need a government-run program to teach people. I don't want a government-run program to teach me shit. That's so fucking disgusting. I don't why is it that just sounds like a nightmare. It sounds like an authoritarian nightmare. We just need a government reprogramming to reprogram all the white people. No, you just have to improve people's material situation in life that leads them, makes them less prone to demagogues. Again, like I said, you offer someone Medicare, you offer someone health care when they're sick, you offer someone UBI so they can have a little money in their pockets, and you offer someone tax subsidized, free at the point of service college education, to where if they want to improve their life, the only thing they have to do is make that choice. Right? To tell someone in today's current economy and in current climate, oh, just pick yourself by the bootstraps, when the cost of college and trade school and the cost of rent and just basic living expenses is so astronomical that you need to be freaking rich to just have a normal life nowadays. You know what I mean? To tell someone like that, oh, just come together. It's insulting. And for the working class people of America who are grinding paycheck to paycheck, oh, you're telling those people, oh, just come together. We've got to just reprogram you guys to not be racist anymore. When the material possessions of your life fucking suck, and you're working dead end jobs, and there's no hope, and doing things like having a family and having a safe place to live are just becoming more and more crazily expensive for the average person. But it's that's not the issue according to CNN. The CNN is that we're just not coming together, and if we would just come together more, that would fix the problem. So hey, people, anybody watching this video, please, if you want to solve white supremacy, just come together, dog. Homegirl, homie, Z, partner, player, they, them, whatever. You just gotta come together, man. Man, dog. Just come together. And then also, why haven't you been coming together before? What the hell's wrong with you people?
Races, different genders, racial bias, all of these issues,
teach people about different races, different genders, different biases. Okay.
Nationalist type of rhetoric.
Again, teaching people about things when segregation is firmly in place is actually kind of insulting. Oh, let's teach people about the people over there that let's not talk about. Let's not talk to them. I'm going to teach you. Well, actually, you know what? Why don't we have Arian Blondie teach us all about the blacks, and then she'll teach us about the Spanishes. Okay. So you'll do the Spanish. You'll teach us about the blacks. We'll have another white lady teach us about the Asians. And we'll just sit there and let you teach us. Teach us how to not be racist. From your talking to my lived experience. From the words of your lips to my lived experience. Teach me, please, mommy.
Rhetoric emanating from the White House instead of, again, a top-down effort to educate the American public.
Oh, the American public. So it's I don't know shit. And if Blondie Arian would only just teach me with Brunhilde Brunette, and so if I could learn from Blondie, the brunette, the white supremacist. Oh yeah, and we'll throw this Negro on the side. Yeah, that's how we're gonna do it. In a 7-minute segment. How will we stop the fact that you would even have a segment called this and have it 7 minutes long, 7 minutes and 51 seconds long, shows me how much you bloody well care about ending white supremacy. We care 8 minutes as much to end white supremacy on CNN.
I think it has to start in communities and at home, and I'm wondering what you think communities and families.
Yeah, it starts to start in communities in your segregated neighborhood. In your segregated neighborhood, talk to your white neighbors. You hear, go around, say, you should knock on your white neighbor's door and say, hey, I teach about not being racist. 6 out of 10 of you who voted for Donald Trump, I'm gonna go around door to door and say, just stop now. It makes black people and brown people feel bad. Just don't do racism. Don't you want to be a good guy? Okay, hold on. Just let me look at it this way. Like, when you watch the Green Book, okay? Like, do you want to be Viggo Mortensen's character, or do you want to be the bad guy that he punched? Like, you're being the bad guy that he punched now, and I'm the one. I'm the good. I'm the Viggo Mortensen. I'm the good race, white. You're the bad racist, white. You're the reason of racism because you're saying mean things right now. So we just all got to learn. I can't wait. If she's giving a class on how to not be racist, I'd love to take it because everybody's a little bit racist, including me, right? We're all racist here, man. We all benefit from the system of oppression. We all benefit from segregated neighborhoods. We all benefit from segregated water fountains and segregated restaurants. It was just a shame that it's not like that anymore because everyone was benefiting. It was equal for everyone. Everyone could just be racist equally back then.
Families can do in their own homes, in their own backyards, where maybe more laws can't necessarily address this.
I don't think that you're...
Again, how are you going to make a law against telling someone to be or not be racist? How would that even work? Why would you even, after all this time of American history, be like, Let's make a law to make white people not racist. Wouldn't you have done that by now? Like, it's so silly. Like, there used to be slavery in this country. Why didn't you just make that law back then? Don't be racist, white people.
You're gonna policy or law your way into a solution. These white supremacists are growing up in your backyards with grievances that are at the local level, all the way up to the federal level. So we're going to have to start grassroots movements to actually combat this on a local level. And I think that you're going to need to have programs in place such as intervention and preventative. And if we treat it as
exactly, like preventative, like after school programs, like things that are positive for kids that don't necessarily have to deal with race, but you just make them do positive shit together. If you just make a bunch of black and white Asian kids and Mexican kids and Latino kids, whatever, just go do fun shit together as kids, and you know, and there'll be naturally find common interests, then that's part of the solution. You don't have to sit there and tell people not to be racist. You see, like the problem is we live in a segregated society. If you desegregate it and have people hanging out together, that helps. But just don't be racist to someone who lives in an all-white neighborhood. Like, come on. Or were you going to go to the all-black neighborhoods and tell people not to be racist there? Or go to the Asian neighborhood? Don't be racist. It's like so silly.
a public health issue, and you know, a disease is progressive unless
at least this guy is the most closest to him and the black guy, right? Him and the historian are the closest to like the other two are just like freaking brunch people. At least this motherfucker was down in the dirt with these fools so he can say what's good. And the other guy was a historian, so he cares about history and historical context. The other two people like, oh, well, I mean, one of them was like, seemed like a narc kind of law enforcement type deal or whatever, but still like, nah. Honestly, you could listen to these type of people more, ex-Nazis. They're going to tell you what's good. They're going to tell you how they recruited people. They're going to tell you all the tactics and the statistics they use. These motherfuckers are the truth, like straight up. These fools who's willing to like come out and be like, nah, this is how it went down. I fuck with these fools hella. So this guy, I fuck with him because he's saying real shit. He's not on TV trying to promote himself as a motherfucking, like the other woman, Brunhilde. She's just trying to promote how amazing she is. And this motherfucker just seemed like he talking about the shit he went through.
arrested, it becomes fatal. And so is these supremacist groups of any flavor or kind.
I'm so grateful to have had all three of your perspectives joining in on this conversation, because I think, as everyone has pointed out, it's not just any one thing. These problems we're tackling in What Comes Next will not vanish anytime soon. So it's really important that we start asking the tough questions now. See you next week.
And what were those tough questions in summary? Do you see this shit? You see the shit? That's why I don't watch mainstream media. It's just so ridiculous. Like I like to like honestly, I'd rather you just not talk about it. Like I feel like talking about it in such a pathetic way is more divisive than just ignoring it. Just ignore it. Like who cares? You're not helping anybody by making segments like that. You know what I'm saying? You're not helping anybody. And like I was watching that. I was gonna go play some video games and chill out, and then I was like, bro, that shit annoyed me. And I have to make segments bashing CNN and neoliberals because I fucking hate them. All right, my lovers. Take care, my lovers. These are next views. I'll be coming out with more content soon. Also, I'm thinking of doing a little Twitch thing where I do a Twitch on a Sunday or a certain day, where it's just old school, where I just talk to folks and like answer questions about daily life or whatever you're going through. A non-political segment where just people just want to rap. I might play video games or some shit like that, and then like if people want to talk or whatever, I'll be there to. So I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to put it together. Again, I'm still new to all this technology, so I'm trying to make it work, and I'm just doing it on my own and also working and shit. So it's hard for me, but. Excuse me. But, you know, I love doing it, and I feel like I need to help my Z gang out, my pro gang out. So I'm the old head. I'll talk to the youngsters or whatever, my peers or whatever, if you want to talk. So I'm coming out with it. The more this starts to get cracking, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna think about it. Because I still gotta work though, so I gotta figure out how to get a little bit more money coming through the gate so I can put together more content. All right, my loves, I love you. Like and subscribe to this shit, so that helps me out. You know what I'm saying? And we'll talk soon.